Happy June and happy Pride. Celebrating pride in all of us. All this month, Richard Skipper celebrates those that are making a difference in the LGBTQ community. Never gossipy. The antidote to a sometimes hectic world. Now, here's your host, Richard Skipper.
Happy Saturday night, everyone. Happy Pride weekend. This is my last show in this series celebrating members of the LGBTQ community. So I want to thank all of you who not only participated this past month, but who have attended the shows, left your comments, shared these shows with others. If you are here for the first time, I hope that you will subscribe to Richard Skipper Celebrates. My show is all about celebrating artists and their body of worth. What makes a great artist? How do they get from point A to point B and beyond? So I can't think of a better person than Michael Kushner to be our special guest tonight as we end this month. As we go, we need to keep the pride flowing on and on and on. I am so glad that he brought his friend along. Because yesterday was Bring Your Dog to Work Day. So, see, I celebrate everything. Michael, I am so glad that you're here tonight. And I want to ask you, first of all, before we delve into your upcoming show at Feinstein's 54 Below this Wednesday night. Tickets are still available. And the amazing Alice Ripley will be sharing the stage with you. Yeah. But I want to ask you, because we are in the midst of Pride Weekend and Pride Month, what exactly does Pride mean to you personally?
Pride for me it's actually kind of what my show is about. Pride to me ties in with my Jewish roots as well. So it's about understanding yourself and about having a clear point of view, no matter who you are or where you come from. And I happen to be a gay Jew, so I have, that means there's a lot of food and a lot of complaining. I'm proud to be an eater and a complainer. So that's,
Well, which are you more of, a gay Jew or a Jewish gay?
Depends what day of the week it is. Depends who I'm with. It depends who I'm with, too.
Now, I love this. And in addition to the work that you're doing on stage, you are probably one of the top photographers in the country. So we're going to talk about that as well. But I want to back up for a moment. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Great Neck, Long Island. So just like 30 minutes outside of the city. But I was raised in Fort Lauderdale. So, what I say is that, you just hop on JetJew and you're back into the in the city from Fort Lauderdale. It's only a 2.5 hour flight, and but yeah, that's where I was raised. It was Coral Springs, Parkland, Fort Lauderdale.
Now, I always like to go back to the 5-year-old self, because to me, that 5-year-old self is that time in a person's life before they start school and before peer pressure gets added on to you, not only from the students that you're in school with, but the teachers. Teachers start shaping you as to who they think you should be or should not be. So can you tell us a little bit about the 5-year-old Michael?
Sure. It's also 2 years before you start to sort of let go of what you remember of your past lives. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of imagination, but there's also like a lot of remembrance and openness in that time. But I really always like to check in with my 5-year-old self and make sure that they're proud of me. But when I was about 5 years old, I guess people remember when they discovered when show business became an option. I have friends that didn't know that they could be in show business until like high school. I'm like, honey, that's a little late. But, if you're like 5 or 6, I get it. Be like, oh, wait, that's a job opportunity. You don't just have to be a doctor or a lawyer. And I grew up seeing national tours. I grew up learning stage right in front of stage left in front of the Mary Poppins VHS, because my grandma was a community theater actress in Douglaston, Queens. And she bestowed her knowledge and movie musicals on me. And my 5-year-old self really just wanted to be Mary Poppins. And I think I'm doing a good job. I think every day I'm getting closer and closer to achieving that goal. So that's all that matters.
Well, since you brought that up, I'm going to go there for a moment because not only did you want to be Mary Poppins, but you also incredible photographed Mary Poppins.
It was really wild. It was really wild. I'm really all about manifestation, and there's so many things that have happened in my life that I've manifested, but Julie Andrews was an interesting one because I've loved her for my whole life, and she has inspired so many different things from me. And I've become friends with Rachel York, who has done 2 shows with Julie, and
Rachel is one of my favorite people on the planet.
Yeah, Rachel's amazing, and I was over her place once and admiring her design aesthetic, and she goes, Julie once told me, she goes, always design your house in creams, whites, and taupes. And I was like, oh my God, it sounds like something what Julie would do. So one day, the producer of my podcast, before he became the producer of my podcast, I believe, also works at Google. And Alan, he was like, hey, Julie is going to be at Google kicking off her book tour. Can you photograph it? And I was like, oh my God, yes, of course. And he was like, you're not going to meet her. There are no photos backstage. That's already been discussed. So just know that you're photographing the show or the talk. Next thing you know, I'm there at Google and photographing, and someone sees my ink on my arm and is like, is that Mary Poppins? I'm like, yeah, it's Mary Poppins. She always leads me in the right direction. And she was like, oh my God, that's amazing. A few minutes later, I get this from Alan, and he's like, so we're going to go backstage and we're going to photograph. They want to do photos backstage. And next thing you know, I'm with Julie Andrews, standing with her, and she sees the tattoo and grabs my arm, and have you, and talking about Sag Harbor and talking about, different places. And it was just wild. And I felt my grandma with me spiritually. I felt that she was there, and it was unbelievable.
Well, I want to go back to that for a moment because I'm a huge believer in manifesting as well. When I was 13 years old, and this is in my one-man show, I read a book called The Magic of Believing. And in the book, it says, set your mind on a goal like a homing pigeon and go after it with dogged determination. And I decided then and there that 5 years from that day, I would come to New York, and I did. But I want to go back to where that comes from. Now, when you say earlier that at 5 years old, you are still remembering your past lives, you don't say that flippantly, I'm assuming, that you truly believe that.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm very actually connected with one of my past lives, and it follows me wherever I go, and it's the Titanic. Follows me wherever I go. I remember the movie came out when I was 7. And so I remember being like, I have to go see it. And my grandma took me to go see it. And I saw it 4 times in the theater. And that's a 4-hour movie. And I remember watching it as I'm looking at a framed Boston Daily Globe newspaper hanging on my wall. It says Titanic sinks 1500 I. I remember watching it from the eyes of someone that had been there. Like, it was familiar, but I didn't know what that meant when I was 5 years old. I just was really entranced by it and obsessed with it, and I couldn't stop drawing it on papers, and so I got so obsessed with it that my first grade teacher, Miss Samuels, actually was like, you need to go to the library and you need to look up a different shipwreck, and you need to stop talking about the Titanic. And I remember finding about the Andrea Doria and like trying to obsess over that, but it wasn't quite the Titanic. Mm-hmm. And it just would follow me everywhere throughout the rest of my life. Like, cosmically, the semester that it's built into my program, where I went to Ithaca for musical theater, cosmically, when I would be in London studying abroad was during the 100-year anniversary of the sinking. So there was an off West End play that I went to go see and surrounded myself with like family members. And then around 2012, the 100-year anniversary of the sinking, there was a new documentary that came out. And one of the big things when I watched the movie was I remember it not looking like I remember. Like I remember it sort of feeling different. And so the documentary was basically how James Cameron got the sinking wrong in the movie. So, and I was like, right, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So then I moved to the city, and I live, and I have since moving to the city. I live right outside of my apartment is the cemetery where John Jacob Astor, the richest man on the ship, is buried. And then my first playbill that I photographed, the first playbill cover that I photographed, is the Unsinkable Molly Brown revival.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I was in the Unsinkable Molly Brown in South Carolina.
Oh my God. It's a great show. It's a great show.
I absolutely love it. And I want to, but on the law of averages, when you talk about these things, which I totally am there with you, but on the law of averages, when you're talking about these experiences and these things, do you find on the whole that people go along with you on this? Or do you find that some people go, that's a little too woo-woo for me?
I don't care. They're not my people if they say that it's too woo. But like, I just think life is too short and also like too magical to like disregard that stuff. And I feel like the reason why I have these experiences, why I have like spiritual experiences, ghost experiences, and things like that, and my being in touch with my past life and all of these like really beshert moments, Yiddish, which is meant to be, or like with Julie Andrews and Idina Menzel and Patti LuPone, like when I have all these experiences, like I think it's because I've subscribed to the like power and magic of the universe and just like going along with the ride and being like, this is cool. And I feel like this is an investment of energy that I'll see happen in a positive way later on down the road. And that's it. It happens. So it, knock on wood, it continues, because like, what else do you have to lose? Like, why not see magic around you? It's like life is so boring without that.
Well, yeah, I'm so glad that you and I are having this conversation tonight. It is the weekend also of the supermoon, the strawberry moon. Normally once a month, I do a thing called the Full Moon Positive Book Club. And this month I was not able to get someone for the full moon, which was Thursday night. So you're filling that void tonight. So I really appreciate that. And I love the fact that you're talking about the magic and manifesting the magic in our lives. The tattoo, once again, when, where, and how did that tattoo come about?
Oh my God. I'm very careful with my tattoos. Like if it's going to go on my body, it's going to be meaningful. But Mary Poppins has been so meaningful and has dictated my life, It was the first musical I did, and it was from the earliest memory, of my grandma teaching me stage right in front of and stage left in front of the VHS. Like ever since I can remember, it was on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the only tattoo that was an impulsive one, where I was out with friends and I was like, I'm going to get a tattoo. And it was Mary Poppins, because Mary Poppins is not impulsive. To have Mary Poppins on me is not impulsive. To get the tattoo was, but everyone else needed planning. I have 4 other tattoos, soon to be 5 other tattoos. I'll have 6 tattoos total. But every other one took planning and took thought. But this one, I was like, no brainer. Of course I'll have Mary Poppins on my body. It's not yeah. So, and I'm proud to have her on me, because I think she represents a lot of really interesting ways to live a life. You know what I mean? If you really listen to what she says, and I really think that how she's written is just like.
Have you read the books as well?
I read one of them, I believe, like in elementary school. But what's so crazy is Sophie Thompson, who is Emma Thompson's sister, and she is an Olivier Award-winning West End actress. She's one of my favorite West End actresses, and I actually have gotten to know her a little bit recently because, again, another manifestation thing. Like I saw her do the She Stoops to Conquer revival at the National Theater in 2012, and she was Mrs. Hardcastle, and I was obsessed with this performance. And my whole class knew how much I loved her and all that stuff, you know. And next thing you know, she's on my podcast, and we email each other. And next time I'm in the UK, we're gonna photograph. I'm gonna photograph her. But the audiobooks of Mary Poppins are narrated by her.
That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I want to go back again to your grandmother. God, we love our grandmothers. And your grandmother teaching you stage left, stage right. It's one thing to be exposed to that, to love that world and everything. It's a completely different animal to pursue it as a career. Yeah. What was the deciding factor for you in which you said, this is the career path that I truly want to be on?
Yeah. So there was a community theater. It still exists, run by Cynthia O'Brien, and she's, I owe so much to her. The Coral Springs Center for the Performing Arts in Coral Springs, Florida. And they were doing Mary Poppins. And my grandma saw it in the newspaper and showed my parents, and were like, he should do this. And they were like, do you want to do Mary Poppins? And I was like, yeah, whatever that means. Sure, I would love to do Mary Poppins.
And how old were you at this time?
I was 9.
Okay.
And the ticket is, I still have my ticket, the first ticket to my show. It's on my bedside table, and I give it a kiss before bed every night.
Good for you.
Thanks. And yeah, so I was cast as Michael Banks, and I remember messing up terribly in the audition. They had us memorize what I can look back and see as a monologue, but was probably 3 or 4 lines. Mm-hmm. And I messed up completely, but I improvised, and I was very clear about, I auditioned for Michael Banks. I wanted to be Michael Banks, and the audition, and I just started talking as if I was Michael Banks, and I got the role. And
that also in that moment showed them that, God forbid something an actor does go up on stage or something, that you're able to get past that. So kudos to you.
Thank you. And I guess it's intuition, but one of my past life is I had a past life regression. We deduced that I was Molly Brown in a past life, and Molly Brown was an actress. And I'm just wondering, I'm honestly making this connection right now. Literally, I've not thought about this, but I'm wondering if I just had that intuition because, it was already in me, that I just would know what to do. Mm-hmm. So I'll never forget the day of the show, and I loved all of it. I loved the rehearsal process, and we got to write the script together, and I was very word for word, like the movie. I was like, we have to have this line, and they were like, we got to move on. You know what I mean? And I was like, we have to have this line. This line's very important. And so yeah, like I loved the rehearsal process. But I remember asking my friend who played Jane, Marley. Mm-hmm. I remember asking, I didn't know. And I had no idea how this was going to come together. I had no idea. All I knew is that I had to memorize these lines and go up on the platform. I had no idea how to memorize. I had no idea what was going to happen. And then we're told to go to the theater. And I will never forget seeing the set for the first time. We had the show that night. I will never forget seeing the set for the first time. And what's funny is it's a national touring house that we used, national touring house. And it's a 2,000 seater. And I remember entering the theater and just being like, what is about to happen? And I could hear it. I could hear it now. Like I could hear the audience, and I could hear the tracks that we use and the kids singing, and it was just so magical. And I remember saying, "This is it. This is it." And
what was that first moment like for you? The first time that you actually stepped on a stage and you looked out and the audience is looking back at you.
I'll never forget it. It was we had head mics. We had like Britney Spears, Free Britney. We had Britney Spears microphones, and I remember this because it was picked up in the video, because my mic had been turned on for my entrance, and we entered stage right, and Marley, who plays Jane, is in front of me, and I'm counting her down, telling her I'm going 3, 2, 1, and go. And I like give her a push, and we go on stage, and it was just. I remember just being like so serious, like this is my moment. I am Michael Banks. I am in the world of Mary Poppins, and no one can tell me otherwise.
Well, Michael Banks is very serious anyway, so that works. Now, was this her first time on stage as well?
No, she had done it a year before, so she was. I mean, she might as well have been Ethel Merman to me. You know, she had done it before. Actually, the 3 other leads, the Bert, the Mary Poppins, and the Mary Poppins, Carly Craig, I'm actually still very close to this day. She was one of the Sandwich. She was sorry. That was why I was holding him before, because he's in a very playful mood right now. Randomly, he's never played.
Quite all right. I love it. That's fine.
But Carly Craig wound up going to be in the revival cast of Mad TV that filmed. She's an incredible performer and impressionist and musical theater actor, and she's out in LA, and she's wonderful. And you know, we grew up together, and we're still very, very, very in touch. And I actually produced one of my first producing experiences was helping her produce her 54 Below show back in like 2014 or 15.
Now, I want to go back to your grandmother for a moment.
Then we can make it about her. I don't care. I love it.
No, again, like I said, we love our grandmothers. Did your grandmother aspire to be a professional actress and to pursue a career?
So I have this picture. And I love this picture very much. It's I guess from the newspaper out in Long Island or Queens or something. But from what I know about my family, because my grandma passed away, I'm very lucky. I have one of my grandmas. I have Doris. They're actually both named Doris, but we call Grandma Penny, who is the actor. She passed away in 2009, and my grandma Doris, Nanny, is turning 90 in October.
God bless her.
Yeah. So, and we're very close, and she'll be at the show. And this picture is great because it's also the style of my 54 Below show, what this picture encapsulates, like Jewish musical theater, comedy, humor. You can, when I show you this picture, you're gonna see my God, Blanche,
Betty Davis.
No, not Betty Davis. Golden Girls.
Rue McClanahan.
No, Maud.
No. Rose. B. Arthur.
B. Arthur. Thank you.
Yes.
Her name just slipped, and I love B. Arthur. You'll see B. Arthur in this photo because it's very that. But she, my dad was my dad and my aunt were commercial actors, and she could have had a career, I do believe, but she stuck to the community theater acting. But I mean, that's.
Oh my God, that's great.
That's her. That one. I mean, look at that jaw. Look at that jawline.
What a great photo and what a great keepsake.
I know, right? But, that finger point, it's very like, what did I tell you, Rose? Very B. Arthur, right? It's very of its time. Which I love. But so I sort of learned comedy through her and what is funny and watching Mel Brooks movies and Madeline Kahn and, those sorts of things.
I stand corrected. B was Dorothy. So yeah. So thank you, Glenn, for that. Yes,
I actually can get I'm probably going to get in hot water for saying this, but I don't know Golden Girls well, and I have a theory about why. And a lot of people come for me when I say this, but Golden Girls is Jewish humor without the Jew, and because it's Italian, women, and there's a disconnect there for me. It's just like I think I expect them to like start saying Yiddish phrases or things like that, but there is a little bit of a disconnect for me. But I love what it has done for the gay community, how the gay community sees these fabulous women and their the way that they read each other and the way, and I think that's awesome. But for me, I never got into the Golden Girls because I'm just like, if it just felt like there was something missing. But that does not mean that I think it's a bad show. I think it's a great show, and I if it's on, if someone wants to watch it, I'll watch it and I'll laugh. Mm-hmm. But I never like connected deeply with it. Mm-hmm. Is that weird to say?
No, it's not a weird thing to say. I mean, some people resonate to certain things, and some people resonate to other things.
Right.
I want to ask you, do you use a lot of Yiddish expressions?
Gekochen auf den Yam.
Which means?
Go shit in the ocean.
Is that your favorite Yiddish expression?
That's like the first one that everyone uses. My, Nanny, who's still with us, she taught me that. But like, I know certain things. I like with any other language, I have a better ear for it. But I could say certain things like "Echab deren bud," which is "I'll see you in hell," or "Divista ben kava," which is "Do you want coffee?" Or, I know words and phrases, and there's a good one that in der Koppen dried and der face something der Koppen dried and der face in the left, which is a curse. It's may your head grow in the ground and your feet in the air like an onion.
That's a good one. I love that. Write these down and send them to me.
I will.
And I will try to learn them. But your grandmother, obviously, I'm assuming, supported you in your desires and your dreams.
Yeah.
At what point did you decide that you do want to do this as a career?
Right.
And when you went to your parents, what was their response to that?
So many open windows. I'm so sorry. You asked me that question 15 minutes ago.
That's okay.
So we did Mary Poppins, but then there was a newspaper clipping for a regional theater that recently closed, but it hired many New York actors up until very recently. They closed, and there was a theater called Stage Door Theater in Fort Lauderdale.
Yes.
And they were doing a show called A Stoop on Orchard Street, and they needed a Jewish, like 10 to 13-year-old, and who can sing and dance. And I submitted. My grandma submitted me. I didn't really know how that worked then. Then I went for the audition and I booked it. And next thing you know, I was getting picked up from school 2 days a week to do matinees. And I was doing 8 shows a week at a regional theater, and we were selling out. So we kept extending. We wound up running for 6 months, and I was the lead of the show. It was about a kid with like 22 other adults.
Wow.
And it was called A Stoop on Orchard Street. And it was basically Fiddler on the Roof Part 2. It's basically what happens after the exodus in Russia and in the Lower East Side. And I grew up very quickly. And I realized very quickly that I was gay. I only wanted to do show business. That this was my thing. New York was where I was going. I didn't care about anything else. This was it for me.
And how was the rest of the world? You said earlier that life is too short. You don't really care about the, if people are not along for the ride. And I'm with you on that. But you do go through a phase as a teenager, at least I did, and most kids do. Maybe you didn't, I don't know. Where you want to fit in somewhat with the people around you. Were you ever that kid or absolutely not?
No, I was. I actually was just talking with my friend about this over FaceTime. I had a really big realization, and I'm in therapy and I love therapy and I'm helping. I'm unpacking a lot of different stuff, but high school, sophomore year, I remember I had lost a bunch of weight and started to look really great and or great, whatever. Great doesn't matter if you lose weight or not, whatever. But at that time, I was looking great and had lost 40 pounds and was becoming stylish and cute because I was starting to go through puberty and I come out and I was really finding myself, but that comes with ego. And I was very lucky, the school that I was in, where socially the drama kids weren't the lower end of the totem pole. We weren't really picked on. At least I wasn't. There was a lot of in-house drama, but from the soccer kids, they came to see our shows. You know what I mean? And it was very lucky to be in that sort of situation. And so I remember I fell into what it was like to become popular and bitchy and sassy and subscribe to high school. And I remember I went to Frenchwoods.
Let me ask you this. Yeah. Were those aspects truly a part of who you were, or were you doing it just to fit in?
I was doing it just to fit in. I knew it was, and it felt bad because I remember when the drama would happen, when I would get in trouble with my friends, it was awful. I only want to be liked. I only want to fit in. I only want to collaborate. I am not down for any of the drama. But then I went to Frenchwoods, which was a sleepaway performing arts camp. And I remember being included by this group of artists that were so welcoming. And I had a mindset change. And I literally was I'm not going to be that person anymore. It doesn't matter. And I remember going back to Florida for junior year of high school and just being I'm not gonna shit talk people anymore, and I'm not gonna do this. But then it happened again in college. Then I was very insecure in college for a multitude of reasons. One being I'm not a riffer, and I'm not like a soaring tenor pop sound. I'm Ethel Merman reincarnate. I'm vaudeville. I'm a vaudevillian spirit in the wrong time period. And
welcome to my world.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I, there was always, I felt like I was always competing for my friends' approval. And there was a group of friends that I kept around because even though they weren't healthy for me, I knew that the second I would leave them, they would shit talk me, and they would, and I was so terrified of that. So terrified of it. So, yeah, I just feel I did that to protect myself, but it's not who I am. So.
Well, now, many years later, not that many years later, but being, a man, forging out your own life and career, are any of those aspects still a part of you? Or are you very, very solid in who you are? And therapy, you mentioned therapy, it helps all of us. So, good for that. But how solid are you in being Michael Kushner, the man that you want to be?
I would be lying to you if I sat here and said, I know myself. I am everything is great, everything is gorgeous. I navigate life. I navigate life perfectly and without any doubt. I would be lying to you blue in the face. I don't think I'll ever reach a place where I'm like, this is Michael Kushner to the T.
Mhm.
I think I will always question myself and my intentions and make sure that I'm doing the right thing, because it's hard to understand if impulses are the right impulses. So I think that I will always check myself. And also, like, people change,
Mhm.
so like I'm not the same person that I certainly was before quarantine. So
Let's go there for a moment. How has the past year impacted you on levels beyond what we've all gone through? We've all dealt with a lot of the same similar things. I always say it in my shows, but I'm going to say it now. A dear friend of mine says we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat.
yeah.
How has this past year impacted you in terms of the way that you're going about your own life and the way that you're? Let's talk about both your art and you as a human being.
Yeah. Knock on wood, like I had a lot of positives during the quarantine, like a lot. I was able to garner an income and propel my career forward and nail some projects that I can't talk about yet. Like I can, like this week I'll probably be able to like talk about it, but right now I can't. It's like still negotiations and stuff like that, and it's like, and I want to be able to talk about it, but like there are exciting things that are happening, and it was because I took what I know about the industry and my insight on the industry and my point of view on the industry, and I just sort of like applied it to my life and just figured out how to adjust. Like I was also sick. I got sick in March of 2020. So like I'm also a long hauler, deal at like trying to get better, but I realized that like the one thing that was helping me get better was working. So I was constantly trying to create work for myself so that I could be distracted or figure out how to like connect with people around me. And I did some good stuff that I'm really proud of. But personally, it's interesting. I'm looking at being sick as a positive because I'm not very responsible with my body. I can go without the dentist or the doctor for very long, and my boyfriend will be like, when was the last time you were at the dentist? I'm like, oh, 17 years ago, maybe not 17 years ago. And he's like, you should get seen. You should check that out. But not 17 years, but still enough where it's like, what? And so being ill and getting better and recovering has had me in a positive way be able to communicate and connect with my body in a way that I haven't before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And check in and be responsible and go to the doctor.
Well, I want to go back again to the career aspect of your life. When you said earlier that you are originally from Great Neck, but you grew up in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
How did you make the move back to New York?
I mean, I turned the tassel and left. Like I knew earlier, I knew for a while that I was like, God, gotta get me out of here. Like I looked at University of Florida once, like when I was applying for colleges, and I saw palm trees and I was like, no, I don't care. I don't care if I get the call, like a call back, like let's turn around. Like it's just not worth it. We're going to waste time. I just saw palm trees and it felt like Florida. And it was like, I just wanted out, and I wound up going to a school that was so far from Florida. It was 2 planes. You can't even take a direct flight there. It's 2 planes to get to where I went to school, and very cold. So, but I had always known, and I'm really glad. I'm really, really glad that I did not go to school in the city. I'm really, really grateful for that.
Why is that? Why is that?
Yeah, I was able to really have I don't want to say like going to a school in the city isn't normal. Like, what is normal? You know, but I had a campus and a quad and like was able to drive and like walk to like my friends' houses and have a house and get to know a town. And it was just and see and like have seasons change, and like I really got to experience life outside of the city, which was important to moving to the city so I could bring that experience into Manhattan. Like, my boyfriend went to NYU, and while he had incredible education and made great relationships and carries them to this day, he has a much different relationship with the city, and it's not a relationship that like I particularly want to have, and I'm happy that, and I think it's just because of the college experience.
Now, even though you were born in Great Neck, were you very young when your family moved down to Florida?
I was one.
You were one. So when you came back to New York to live here, did you have any connections at all in New York? How did you acclimate yourself? And at what point did you begin to feel like a New Yorker?
Yeah, I was very lucky because I had Frenchwoods, my sleepaway camp, right? And I made so many friends that I had gone with. Majority, 75% of the camp, maybe even more, were from the tri-state area. So, and we were all the same age. So we were moving there together, or some were older than me, so they were already there. The staff, and also my aunt lives in Hell's Kitchen. My grandma's in Queens. I have a cousin just down the street from my apartment right now. And also my cousin, who's my age, moved to New York City at the same time. So we were getting acclimated together. We were hanging out. And so there was a lot there where I never felt alone. I actually was very lucky. I was doing the out-of-town tryout of the On the Town revival at Barrington Stage. And my friend from college, the way that it worked out was she had moved into an apartment in Harlem with a roommate, and they were leaving right when I was getting there. And so I just went right in. And I also was even able to take over the lease. Like, I didn't even need a sublet. I was just taking over the lease.
Are you in the same place that you were at that point?
Right now?
Yeah.
Oh my God, no. That's where Michael Kushner photography started, with like a bed sheet stapled to the wall. But no, I'm not there anymore. And then my boyfriend and I moved in with each other into a 6th floor walk up. We were there for about 3 years, and then we moved into the place that we're currently in, and we love it. We love it. My studio is right on the other side of the wall. I have a really lovely, spacious studio, and we've decorated it really well. It feels very homey. So,
now, have you had any other jobs outside of the business, either as a photographer or as an entertainer, survival jobs in New York?
Yeah. So I started Michael Kushner photography full time. When I say full time, I mean that was my main source of income while I was producing and performing and writing and podcasting. Still, that's my main income. And I'm very lucky for that. You know what I mean? Knock on wood. But just making sure my puppy's okay. Hello, where are you? Okay, yeah, he's over there. But when I moved to this city, I worked at a skincare store called Saban, where I washed people's hands in the store and like would test out the materials, the products. And then I was there for about 9-10 months, and then I quit, and I found this great nonprofit called Wingspan Arts that puts art programs into public schools. Good. And I became a teaching artist there, basically. And actually when I went to go do photography full time, and photography in the theater industry, like I don't do events, I don't do weddings or bar mitzvahs or anything like that. I don't have the skill for it, but I don't have the interest or the heart for it at all. Mm-hmm. Especially because of the stakes and the way that people treat the photographers. It's just, I did that. I have done that. And like, it's miserable. And I'm like, I don't want to be treated like this. I feel like a piece of meat, you know what I mean? So anyway, I became a teaching artist, and I was very sad when I left Wingspan Arts and wound up joining their eventually down the road, joining their advisory board. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I really love them.
Well, I want to talk for a moment about your next chapter, and that is that you're going to be performing at Feinstein Studio 54. Below on Wednesday night. How did this show come about, and what can audiences expect that attend your show? And are you also live streaming? I know that some shows are still doing that.
Yeah.
Or do people have to be there in person in order to experience Michael Kushner?
Yeah, people do have to be there in person. And the way that 54 Below is selling tickets is that it's in pods. So you can't buy a ticket by yourself, but if you were to like have a friend or 2 friends or 3 friends, there are tables available. I think one more table was released today. They were holding on to another table to see how we're selling. We're selling well, which is good. So they released another table. So that's good. There's some more tickets available. And yeah, I mean, like, I'm super, super, super excited about it. I was filming a movie. I was producing and filming a movie with Alice Ripley called The Pink Unicorn.
Absolutely. And very well, by the way.
I'm sorry?
I hear great things about it.
Oh, that's exciting. It's we'll see. It's being edited right now. Mm-hmm. So, universe, have fun. Like, I hope it's good. I hope it's good. Can't wait to see it. And on the night, I think of the like last day of filming, I get an email from Jen Tepper saying, "Hey, do you want to be a part of 54 Below's reopening?" And I was like, I was so gobsmacked and honored because I love 54 Below. I have produced there, you know, me and Jen Sandler's Mel Brooks night, 2 sold out performances hosted by Richard Kind and original Mel Brooks company members. I mean, it's a great night. So I produced that and directed it as well. And Frenchwood's night, like I've produced a bunch of stuff at 54 Below, like just on my own, not as a part of the 54 Below staff. And I photograph at 54 Below and I perform on that stage. But I've never done a solo show there. And to be seen that way felt really great. And I felt
you done a solo show before anywhere?
I have. And it's a one-man play that I wrote. It's not a musical. So it's 60 minutes of speaking, but not singing. But so I really I didn't want to do anything that challenged me too crazily. I didn't want to lead up until that day feeling like I was going to be sick in my stomach, because I don't like associating feeling sick and nervous with performing. I don't like that. I want to go on a stage and be like, this is me unapologetically, and it's going to be fun for me and you. So I'm choosing a lot of songs that I can sing in my shower, that I don't have to worry about, that if I do mess up, if I do,
It's a party.
right, it's a party. That
It's
it's a party. That's how it feels.
Well, when you're doing cabaret, a lot of people out there may think, it's a one-man show, although you've got a special guest as Alice Ripley. But it's not really a one-man show because it's a collaboration of the people around you. Can you tell me a little bit about your team of people that you have creating this show with you, and how you went about choosing this particular team for this particular show at this particular time in your life?
Yeah, I wanted to just do Michael Kushner sings his hits, like the songs that he's known for, the songs that when you're with him, he's gonna burst out and sing, like those. Those are the songs that you're gonna see in a macro level with a band that is led by Debbie Chiang, and so piano on the keys is Nate Hopkins, and Debbie is on the bass. Devin Medic is on the horn, and Joe Cosmo Kogan is on the drums, and it's directed by JJ Maley. And being a producer, it's really important to me that like there's representation. So my music director and director are just like me, like part of marginalized communities. So I wanted them to be a part of it, and it's been great, and I'm so thankful for 54 Below to give me that space. So I'm going to do songs like I'm opening up with Springtime for Hitler. So just imagine this sort of night that it's going to be. I'm opening up with Springtime for Hitler, and then if that's what I'm opening up with, my finale is going to be Rose's Turn.
Absolutely. Well, before we close out, we're going to play a little game here. I have some questions that people have sent to me. They're not questions that are specific to you. They're just generic questions. And I pulled a few before tonight's show.
Sure.
And we'll start. Who is the person that you would most like to photograph that you haven't done so already? And why?
My God. I'm just seeing all these comments on the side. I didn't even realize people were commenting. Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm just looking at them. Hi, everyone. I'm so sorry I didn't see that. Hi, Michelle. Hello, Rose. Hello.
Rosa Puzo, who was responsible for us doing this tonight. So, shout out to her.
I go, Glenn goes, you have a right to your own opinion. That's very fun. Okay. Yeah. I love these comments. This is great. Hi, everyone. So the question was,
who is the person that you would most like to photograph that you haven't done so already?
It's a cool place to be in when you're sort of like, which is nice. I'm going to say these two people, even though I have photographed them already, actually, strike that, reverse it. I'll say I have photographed Bette Midler already, but not in my studio or in a studio setting. Like it was backstage. Mm-hmm. So I would like to shoot her in the studio, but I have a cool relationship with this woman because her son is my best friend from college, and we're still very close. But Patty has cooked me many a dinner, and she's an incredible cook, but I've never photographed her, so I'd like to do that.
Okay, Patty, let's make it happen. Who is the person that who you'd most like to see on stage again that you haven't seen in a long time?
Randy Graff, but she knows that she's a friend.
I love Randy. Love
her.
I
want to see Randy Graff, or someone that has passed away. I would love to see Nell Carter, but
Yeah. And what is the best quality that you inherited from your parents?
I think the ability to laugh and have a good time. My family is very, my family has not been, my family has gone through many things, but we do laugh a lot. We do find a lot of joy and a lot of humor in a lot of things, and that I think is very important.
Yeah, it's very important. What has truly been the most embarrassing moment in your life?
Oh my God, I can go into like a existential thing, or I can like go into like a embarrassing. I was a bad college kid and I blacked out way too many times. I don't do that anymore, but I didn't drink in high school. And I think what happened basically was, I was like, what is this? And had no filter and no, nothing like that. So I really went like crazy. Didn't do drugs or anything, but I was just like, and Ithacans were not partiers. Like, we like to drink and like dance to music in our houses, but we don't like go clubbing, and we don't do any hard drug. Like, it's, but I was just like, whoa, what is happening? And so I think there was one morning where I blacked out, unfortunately, and I left the party I was at, and I fell, twisted my ankle horribly, and rolled down the street.
Oh my God.
And then crawled home, didn't remember any of this, and then woke up, tried to get out of bed, but fell because my ankle was this big. And that's never, like, I don't like being associated with that. So, but I don't do that anymore.
Oh, good for you. Who is the person that you would most like to appear on stage with that you have not appeared on stage with?
Idina.
Okay. Who is the friend that you most often disagree with?
That's an interesting question. Oh my God, that question. Very much off guard. God. All right. If you had asked me a few months ago, I'd say something else. I'd say my boyfriend. Like, we're opposite people in a lot of in a lot of great ways, and we can really go for it, but in a good way. So we disagree, but in a good way.
And what is your greatest virtue?
Kindness. I think I'm a kind person.
And what is your best vice?
My best vice? My best vice. What do you mean, my best vice?
Think about it and private message me.
I went through like a million pages with that. I was like, best vice.
Yes. Well, anyway, I want to thank you so much for being here with me tonight. I want to thank everybody who joined us.
Yeah,
you could have been anywhere tonight. It is Pride Night. The night is still young. Go out and celebrate, but do it safely. Go out and have a great time and celebrate the pride in yourself and in everybody that you know. Again, if you were here for the first time, I hope that you will subscribe to Richard Skipper Celebrates. If you enjoyed tonight's show, please hit the like button, leave a comment, share it with your friends. The more times that happens, the greater the ranking will be with this particular video. I also end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. Go to your Facebook friends list, and the 8th name that pops up, reach out with a phone call. Not an email message, not a text message, not a private inbox message, a phone call. And let that person know what they mean to you. As I said earlier, a dear friend, David Friedman, says we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. And you never know what someone else is going through right now. But my advice to all of you is that if you're going to go out on a boat, make sure that you bring a skipper along.
Yeah.
Now, Michael, I'm going to leave the screen now, and I'm going to give you the final word. Anything that you want to say about anything that we talked about tonight that you want to build upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any message that you want to share with everyone right now, I want to remind everyone once again that on Wednesday night, you will be appearing at Feinstein's 54 Below. The details for how you can get tickets will be in the subject line underneath this video on YouTube. So please, 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 let's bring back live entertainment. And who better than Michael to bring it back and to wrap up the month of Pride. Michael, I'm a huge fan of yours. Thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah. Have you heard, my darlings, have you heard? In all the fashionable circles, it's the latest word. All who are society's preferred are Jewish this year. Barbara is, and Lenny Bernstein is, and need I tell you, Richard Burton is as well as Liz. The Joe Levines, the Sammy Davises are Jewish this year. Anyone who's anyone is Jewish. Anyone who's anyone at all. So if you are yearning to be newish, go eat gefilte fish and blintzes, learn to be a Jewish princess. That's what I gotta say. If you want more, come to 54 Below on Wednesday, 9:45 is my show. Michael Kushner sings with Hits for Pride, and it's gonna be fabulous. And also follow me on Instagram or add me on Facebook. On Instagram, I'm at the Michael Kushner right there. So I look forward to hearing more from you that were listening, and thank you to Richard for having me. Mwah! Happy Pride.